Okay, so let's say that you get an audio file from someone, maybe a guest or a friend, and there's a couple sections of that audio file that are super quiet. The rest of it's pretty okay, decent volume, but then there's just a couple seconds where for whatever reason the volume level is way lower. So what do? Your first instinct might be to compress the crap out of the whole track, but that's not a good idea. There's actually a better way to do it, and this actually happened to me this past week, so I wanted to take a second and share what I did and how I fixed it, just so you might get some ideas for the future, especially if you're working inside of Logic, but this will work in any audio editing software. So let's jump into the screencast. Okay, so I got this audio file from my friend Kyle, and I dropped it into Logic, and I'm editing it. So I'm editing it, and then I come over here, and I'm like, what is this? Like, totally fine right here.
How can I build a reliable, relatable brand if I can't communicate consistently with my audience?
That's cool, but then I come over here, and I'm listening to this, and I'm like, what?
I used to be somewhat of a fly on the wall as well, and I can relate to what this email is saying.
And at first I was like, okay, cool, I'll just adjust the clip gain, because you can do that in Logic. You can make a cut, create, like I did right here, create this little track, this piece of this track right here, double click on it or hit E to open up the editor, go to File, and then hit Functions, Change Gain, or Control G. And you can actually boost the gain of the track. And in this case, if I boost it up about 12 decibels, now it's good, right? Cool, no problem. Well, except now I brought up the background noise on the track too. Listen to the difference between these two.
How can I build I used to be somewhat of a fly on the wall.
So now there's all this psss, and I'm just like, ugh, I don't... So I'm going to have to do some heavy background noise removal to process this, but I don't want to do that heavy processing to the other sections of this track, because that'll kind of just degrade the whole sound quality of the whole thing, and I don't want to do that. So what I did instead was create a new track, and then basically just drag this section down here, then open up the mixer, and I use a plugin called Isotope RX5 Dialogue Denoiser for removing background noise. And these are really great. I'll show you what it sounds like with just two of these stacked on top of each other. Set kind of low. Nothing too fancy. Here we go. Yeah.
Okay. I used to be somewhat of a fly on the wall as well, and I can relate to what this email is saying. You know, I used to sit back and kind of let others talk, observe the room, not really voice my opinions too strongly, and just kind of take things in.
So that's not too bad, but if you don't have RX5 speech enhancer, but if you don't have RX5 dialogue denoiser, then there's actually a plugin that comes with Logic. Hold down Option and click on a plugin slot, go to Legacy Speech Enhancer, and this little plugin works almost as well. Not quite as great, but you leave two of these on at 40 decibels. See, I'm going to hold down Option to create a copy, and you'll see the little denoise feature right here. I bet it's going to work just about as well. Let's take a listen.
I used to be somewhat of a fly on the wall as well, and I can relate to what this email is saying. You know, I used to sit back and kind of...
So I can hear a little bit of like sharpness, a little bit of crunchiness, but overall that's not bad. And so that's pretty much how I dealt with it. There were a couple other sections on this track, but luckily it wasn't too bad. So I hope that was helpful. Just know that you can change the clip gain of a region by double clicking on it, going to File, and then hitting Control G. That'll let you make a permanent adjustment to the gain. And you may also want to move that clip to a different track to do some different processing. And if you don't want to throw all the same plugins on that same track, there's another trick that I use, which is routing two tracks to a bus and putting the processing on that bus before sending it to the master stereo out channel. So, hope that makes sense. Anyways, that's it for this screencast. Hope that was helpful. Hope you learned something. If you like this video, if you want more content like this, subscribe to this channel or head over to thepodcastdude.com. Put a link to that in the description below. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions, leave them in the comment. If you have any other screencasts you'd like me to make about Logic, then drop a comment down there. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.